The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
Hi, welcome to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. My guests today are Andrea Matrosovs, who is the Warden for Grey County, and Kevin McNab, who's Director of Paramedic Services. And we have Kevin here because it's National Paramedic Services Week, which is a week where the focus is on paramedic services right across Canada. But of course, we've got them right here in Grey County. So welcome to the both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Kevin, you've been on before, but now you're wearing your uniform. I mean, you are a paramedic, right?
Yeah, still certified to this day, paramedic. Yep.
Because and that's important because you never know when your skills might be called upon.
Yeah, if I'm out and about around the county, I drive in a work vehicle and I listen to the radio. And if there's a call and I'm the closest, I'll be going to it. Or if there's a large event, I'll make my way out to.
Mm-hmm. So you're you're one of the people who drives the paramedic pickup trucks.
Yes, yeah. Most often you'll see our supervisors or our first response or CPs in vehicles of single per people, but yeah, mostly that's what they travel in, and myself.
Right. Because we all think of paramedics running around the streets of Owen Sound and Grey County in ambulances, but no, there are support vehicles and dedicated vehicles as well.
Yeah, that's correct. From our supervisors to a first response unit, which is getting resources as quickly as possible to emergencies, or our community paramedics that are out and about seeing older adults in the home.
Right. And when you think about it, it's the community paramedic, the whole role of paramedicine has changed over the years. You are you're not just running an ambulance. You're doing, as you said, community paramedicine, supportive outreach service. Oh my golly, there's home visitation, remote patient monitoring, paramedicine and long-term care. It's more than just lights and sirens.
Yes, that's correct. Our core business is responding to emergencies in the community, or what people think of 911. But since around 2015, we've been taking a preventative approach as well. We have a community paramedic program in the county here now that's grown quite significantly. We have about 600 patients on that program that 3 community paramedics are on daily, seeing people in the homes. Typically, these are older adults with complex diseases like congestive heart failure, COPD, and diabetes. And we see them in the home, and we work with primary care physicians and nurse practitioners to assess and treat them and provide feedback to their providers. And then if they become ill, that we're available to them to treat them in their home before their medical condition becomes an emergency, trying to get ahead of the emergency call.
Sorry, Andrea, do you find that process really actually makes a difference?
Yes, we are seeing it we report back to the ministry, and we are seeing that in our data that there is a difference being made in caring for people, reducing ER visits, reducing hospitalizations and 911 calls.
Sure. Andrea, yes, sorry I interrupted you.
No, I was just going to underscore that not only does that make logistical sense to keep people out of emergency rooms as much as possible, just knowing from having cared for elderly parents and grandparents in my life, the stress of having to actually pack up and go into somewhere when you're dealing with so many complex issues, to be able to be at home and be in the environment where you're the most comfortable just immediately reduces the anxiety as well. So there's such a good social impact on this. And needless to say, part of that is because there's such a caring team in the whole paramedic services. These are the right people that need to come to the door and provide not just that medical assistance, but to be there and to be caring and understanding.
I think Andrea, you make a really good point because I'm just thinking of here yesterday where I live in Owen Sound. I heard the whoop whoop of the siren as it came down the street, and I thought, and it was lights and sirens, and at the intersection near me, just when you blew the siren and went through. But I realize as you're talking, lights inside, just the fact that an ambulance or a paramedic vehicle is parked out in front of somebody's house doesn't mean it's an emergency. It means there is care being given. And that's a stretch for most of us, I think.
That's right. Yep.
Kevin, do you find that the feedback from the paramedics doing these particular roles is positive?
Yes, very positive. We continually get feedback, well, on the 911 side as well as the community side of what the paramedics mean to the people that they respond to. A paramedic across the nation is one of the, if not the top trusted profession. So it is something that we're quite proud of, and we respect that too, that people put their trust in us on their most difficult days, and that's when we're there to help.
Yeah. You paramedics can take a very bad day and turn it into a day that may be a little better.
That's our goal each and every day, is to deliver care, to help people wherever we can, whether it's in an emergency or in a home visit program, or now with palliative care and with our supportive outreach services, helping our most vulnerable in the community. We aim to make a difference wherever we go. Sure.
Well, let me ask you another question. If somebody's watching this, or a grandparent or parent is watching this show, and they might think their children would be interested in this career, where do you start?
Well, as far as the career goes, it's a college program. It's a 2-year college. You can apply to multiple colleges now, and there are some northern colleges that have learn and stay, so they'll actually cover your tuition, although we want you to come here. So please choose another place. But so it's a 2 years college program. Typically, you'd want to have your sciences. That's what you want to be able to have is for your health, is the science programs. And once you do your 2-year diploma, then there's a provincial exam that you have to write. And there's also, we get yearly certified by our base hospital to do advanced medical procedures. So you have to pass the initial certification. So the whole process probably takes about 2.5 years. When I first took the course, I actually went when I was 17, it was only a year long. And now it's 2 years, and now they're talking about 3 years. Paramedic profession continues to grow, and with that, increases the amount of education that goes with it.
Now, I'm teaching you, Kevin, but that was only a few years ago, right?
That's right, just a couple of years.
Kevin, I have a question for you about because I've seen this in the teaching programs as well. Back when I went through as a teacher, it was a 1-year program. I did the concurrent program because I got more practical experience. So do you find that, compared to what you went through in the 1-year program versus a 2 or a 3-year program, is there good frontline experience that students are able to get in order to be able to add to their experience before they actually get out the door graduated?
Yeah, that is there. With that, there's the initial, the first year you do an observer, I think probably about 120 hours. Mm-hmm. Then the second year is over 450 hours that you do. And I would say what's happening is when what they want to do is move into, when the paramedic graduates, now that you come out with your base hospital certification, you come out with your IV certification, a lot of the things that we do on the job that will be continued, that you're more or less ready to practice when you enter the field, which helps us. We still do it here locally once people are hired, but it's easier and better, I think, that if they come prepared. Obviously, a paramedic, that you graduate, you get so much knowledge, as you do the job and learn, that, that's the experience teaches you so much. But having that core base of education, like you said, it continues to grow, and the demands continue more and more.
But there's also specializations, isn't there? You can, you have a basic certification as a paramedic in the province, but you can specialize in other areas. What are some of those?
For the 911, it's primary care paramedic, and which is the majority across the province. And then there's the advanced care paramedic, where there's more advanced life support skills you can do. And then a critical care paramedic, where you'd see that with Orange when they fly in the helicopter. doing on-scene like trauma calls or intensive care transfers. But there's also opportunities now with community paramedicine, the paramedics working the community program to be able to expand into. And it's the same with our supportive outreach services, where you're working with an integrated team delivering care in the community. So more and more areas to expand upon your skills. And I think it'll probably continue to grow.
Sure. Sure. Where do you see growth opportunities in the profession, Kevin?
Well, I think that a lot of it will be around, treating people in the home, treating them, the idea of taking everybody to the hospital. I don't know if we can sustain that. As about, ensuring that people can get the right care in the right place, which, if we can offer at home, working with our community partners, I think that's where we'll probably see a lot of the growth over the next number of years. As always, our base hospital that we work with for our advanced life support directives, they're always looking for the best evidence of care. We're introducing a new skill set. It's called vector change defibrillation. This is based upon evidence where we'll be shocking people that don't convert on the first 3 shocks, so we'll be able to flip to a different vector. And then we'll also, in the next period of a few months, do what's called dual sequential, where we'll be shocking people with 2 defibrillators at the same time. And all that is led upon by best evidence. And so it's great to see that always our base hospital is looking for the best evidence for emergency care.
Right. So it's a very medically oriented, scientific work that where you introduce new stuff because it's evidence based and because these are things that are proven to save people's lives.
Yes, that's correct. Our base hospital has been very, as far as having that ability to offer that guidance, and they also offer the training and the quality assurance and the oversight. They're a really great partner of our service.
I think the other thing to remember too is that we live in Grey Bruce, and you're not 5 minutes, well, unless you're in a place like Owen Sound or any of where there are physical hospitals. You're a distance. You will have to travel either by your own vehicle or you're going to go in an ambulance. So it's a matter of responding as quick as you can or as appropriately as you can right across a very large territory.
Yeah, we are one of the largest counties in the province, 4,500 square kilometers. And our goal is to be on scene of an emergency, obviously, as quick as possible. But our goal we set for is 90% of the time within 15 minutes or less. And that's not travel time. That's from the time the pager goes off. So when you think about that, that's about a 13.5-minute drive time at any given time, 90% of the time.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's a high bar, but we work hard at it. And we're just over the 15 minutes right now, but we've been making improvements to be able to continue to meet that and hopefully improve upon it. But with support of council and our senior management team and everybody here, we've been able to make a plan for the next 10 years to be able to meet those yearly demands and be able to match the resources and what's needed.
Which leads me to another question is, okay, I'm driving down the road. I see flashing lights in my rearview mirror. What do I do?
Yeah, so the best thing you can do is safely, slow down, and pull to the right whenever safe to do so. Just don't stop. Like make sure when it's safe to do so, you pull to the right and then stop.
And if I'm in, say, a built-up area like Owen Sound or Durham or Markdale, and there's I'm stopped at a traffic light and I can't pull over,
yeah,
just stay
put, and we'll make it through. The idea is that we have to, obviously we want to get to the scene as quickly as possible, but we don't want to put anybody else's safety at risk.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm quite impressed. I had this happen this week. I was driving somewhere and I could see the flashing lights. Actually, I heard the siren before I saw the lights, and I pulled over, and everybody else pulled over. I mean, the law. That's the law. You have to slow down, pull over, or move over.
And that's a good day.
Yeah.
We drive over a million kilometers a year, every year.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of distance.
It is. It is. And that's a lot of mileage on your ambulances.
It is, yep. And they're
And
hard to come by right now.
It's also a good public service reminder too about our rural roads too. That when people and I'm sure this is also a concern in urban roads, but when people are parking because they park on the side of the road because they want to do an exciting part of the trail to hike through or something like that, and they think, well, what harm could this do? But we've had scenarios where if there's been illegal parking, in particular on both sides of the roads, but sometimes even just one side of the road, if there were an emergency, we would have trouble. Maybe an ambulance might be able to squeak through, but a fire services truck perhaps couldn't. So it's really good to remember that the reason that we declare where you can park and where you can't park is to think about Kevin and his crew and where they need to get to quickly, and how much time is of the essence when you are visiting a rural call too, because every minute counts when you're having to drive a stretch before you can get them to elevated services.
That's a very good point, Andrea. And I know some areas, for example, in Grey Highlands, that are pretty rough roads and are very narrow.
Mm-hmm.
I've driven them, and
Yes.
I just hadn't realized. Oh, gee, you try and put an ambulance is one thing, a fire truck, that could be well, that's their skill, that's their skill set, not mine. But yeah, it's a very good point. It's a very good point. Now, Kevin, there's two new ambulance stations coming online. The first is right around the corner from where I work, and that's in Durham. And it looks like it's coming along very nicely. And then there's another one planned for Feversham.
Yes, that's correct. We're really excited about this to be able to add new bases. Durham has been something that we've been talking about for a number of years. That base will house the paramedics that are there now, but it'll also be a hub for our supervisor will be there, as well as our logistics. So we've more or less outgrown our own sound base as far as supplies and equipment. So we are going to be able to move it to a larger place to be able to have that. And that base is really coming along quite nicely. Last I heard, we hopefully be in it in August. And then Feversham, it works well underway there. We're just working through some site planning and putting the tender together, finalizing the details for it, and hopefully be able to get going on that soon as well. So we're really looking forward to having that Feversham car, covering Grey Highlands and Southgate and and Town of Blue Mountains, being able to cover that southeast corner of the county. That it's really out there. Its distance is the issue, is getting out to that area. There's not it's the biggest issue there is trying to get to overcome that distance. And there's not really a good way to get there through the valley and over from Blue Mountains. So.
Well, you've come a long way, because I remember when I first moved to Grey County 25 years ago, the big discussion point was the ambulance station in Craigleith. And that was, why do we need an ambulance? Well, we need an ambulance station in Craigleith, and now we've got new stations in Durham and in Feversham. And that explains. You said that there will also be a supervisor's vehicle there. That explains why there's two bays.
Yeah, there actually is 4 bays there, and
Yes.
because it'll be a double stack base, and the supervisor will be there as well as logistics. So, yeah, with our comprehensive deployment review, with budget approval, our hope is to add more bases and more shifts over the next 10 years. Last year in 2024, we added 2 12-hour shifts. And this year, it'll be the 12-hour shift in Feversham. But with that, we're also, building those 2 bases. But with budget approval, 2026 would be Ayton, 2027 would be Thornbury, and then 2028 would be Cobble Beach. So with adding these resources, being able to spread them throughout the county, to be able to reduce the response times, especially in our more rural and areas that are away from our current bases. With the resources we're adding, we're trying to make the most that we can of those resources.
And with the population growing here in this county, and by any estimation, we're going to have a larger population. Those bases are definitely needed.
And we were so fortunate to have approval from council to do a comprehensive deployment review in 2022. We worked with a company from England, who was one of the more used consulting companies in the province, named ORH, and they looked at population, demand, distance, and they actually went back 10 years looking at all our calls and speeds, and they actually come up with a modeling tool that has put a plan in place. Because what we're looking at is, over the next 10 years, beginning in 2022 to 2033, is a 68% increase in call volume, roughly about 5.8% per year. And to meet that, we're going to need, somewhere around 40% increase in resources to meet it.
Which is a direct pitch to you, Andrea, because you're in the political seat, warden now, but a member of county council. Do you feel confident we'll be able to meet, that the county will rise to the challenge?
I think so, absolutely. I mean, I can remember way back at the beginning in 2022 when we started talking about the Feversham base, thinking that's a good example about how the lower tier boundaries don't make a difference. When people need help and the county can provide that help, I can think of locations in the south of the Blue Mountains that will benefit from that because they have Grey Road 2 to get to that clientele. And then to hear that it's going to be enhanced into Thornbury, George and Bluffs, you can just visualize this map that we're filling in those pockets. And the impact is incredible on that, because there's an economic impact, definitely, because we're not spending the dollars of the kilometers traveling to have to go very far and then get somebody there, the closer, shorter trips. But there's also that social impact too, because now the wait time is less. And I really just think that benefits our team as well, the crew, when they know that they can get to the job and deliver the services and with the skills that they have quicker and less worried about being on the road trying to get to that call. I think that makes a lot of sense too. So it's just a good sustainable approach to invest upfront in these stations and watch that return on both social sustainability as well as economic.
Now, Kevin, you referred a moment ago to the fact that there might not be ambulance vehicles available. I remember we've talked about this in the past. Are there shortages of ambulances, contractors or builders, and this is the supply still as tight as it was?
Yeah, there actually was just a new vendor come on board now, and they're building a limited number of vehicles this year. Hopefully increase that number over the next coming years. But before that, for the last 4 or 5 years, there was 2 vendors and then they became one. But through COVID, there's been definitely supply chain issues. We're ordering vehicles at least a year ahead, but they're roughly about 18 to 24 months out. So we are repairing vehicles far longer than what we would want to. But at one time we had 11 ambulances on order, and now we're down to be 7 that we're still waiting for after we get 2 more this month. But yeah, hopefully they're able to arrive soon. We've been, thankful to be able to order a year ahead. So, but it's still trying to get ahead of that. It still hasn't corrected itself.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, also the prices went up significantly as well.
Well, yes, and I don't know are they built in Canada, or are they built in Canada from imported parts? Because the tariffs play a role in costing.
We actually haven't seen it yet, but there is something that they are looking at. I'm not sure that we'll see any impacts, but they will be passed on to us if there is. But the vehicles themselves are assembled in Quebec. The chassis, though, I would believe comes from the United States. It's a van chassis. So,
right. Well, let's hope that the CANUSA treaty, which protects motor vehicles, also protects our ambulances.
Yeah, we hope so.
I did see a piece, actually it was not long ago, in one of the newspapers, where there is a company here in Ontario that it specializes in the installation of emergency electrical systems, and they're the only ones, and so we do have it's a fairly specialized industry. So you don't have a lot of choice, do you?
No, that's one thing with the vehicle standards. They're very strict on different requirements. So that sometimes limits vendors from getting into the market because of the strict requirements of the standard. Now that's a good thing too, because we want safe, well-functioning vehicles. So we want a really good standard, but at the same time, that does limit the people that can bid, or companies that can bid.
Yeah, yeah. It's a fascinating, on one hand, it's a fascinating discussion, but at the same time, it's a critical discussion for all of us. I think we're very grateful that our paramedic services are there for us, but we can't take them for granted.
Yeah, well, we'll always be here. We're always willing to help 24/7. You just call us, we'll be there.
And it's just 911.
911.
Yeah, anywhere in Grey County.
Correct.
Okay. Well, Kevin, I really appreciate the conversation, but there's somebody else here who's been
That's
very
right.
patient. And that's Warden Matrosovs, Andrea. We've got about 5 minutes, and then we'll go to a break. But I wanted to pick up on a couple of things. First of all, there have been big changes at Grey County, like Kim Wingrove retired.
That's right. That's right. So, and we benefited from 10 years of her experience and her contribution and leading our leadership team. And we have been left in great hands because she's been working very closely with the former deputy CAO, Randy Schertzer. And therefore, when council decided that they would like to offer the role of CAO to Randy, it meant that there was a seamless transition because they had been working together closely. They had divided their portfolio with their strengths between the two of them, and they were able to work very, very closely together. And that really benefits both county council and our business, but also it benefits our greater community of the county as well.
So who stepped up into Randy's shoes?
Yeah, so then we put out the call for deputy CAO, and we had some really stellar applications come forward. It was a challenging decision to make because a lot of people were very keen for the position and offered a lot behind them in terms of their experience, very diverse experience, people coming from different pockets of municipal experience as well as government experience. So in the end, we offered the position, and actually his first day, he's now officially started. Niall Lobley came over from, as the former CAO of George and Bless, came over to become the deputy CAO of the county.
Yes, and I actually, the funny part is that the day before that was announced, I interviewed Sue Carleton, and she said nothing. Absolutely nothing. And then it was announced, and I thought, Sue, come on.
Right. That's right. Well, and I feel for every, we just went through our own transition. We had the excellent expertise of Sean Everett as our CAO in the Blue Mountains, and now he is taking that experience and offering a great deal to our neighboring municipality of Meaford. It's always good to hear when people are still within the Grey County fold, because the CAOs, they rely on each other. They have a strong network, and those who have that kind of experience are able to share and mentor, and others who come in from. Niall Lobley has experience from England, so for him, and then in Kitchener when he was working at director level, senior level. So it's always good to have those who have been here in Grey County for a while in balance with those who are coming in with fresh perspectives, new learnings, and we definitely, we are definitely going to benefit from that. I do feel, mayor to Mayor Carleton, I do feel relieved that they have a deputy CAO. So, the transition, yes, you have to fill those vacancies, but it's good to know that there's, again, Niall having worked very closely with that deputy CAO, that the transition is perhaps not as drop off the cliff as it might be. So.
If I can be so bold as to say there's a hockey parallel, you're moving from junior A to senior A to the NHL or something like that. You move from the attack to the NHL to that's probably
Yes.
the best hockey analogy that I can come up with.
That's right.
But I think
That's right.
really but that's what it is. I mean, you have senior people who have years of experience, and then they end up in these top tier positions.
And to have the lower tier experience is really crucial because we work so well in partnership. That's the whole concept of the upper and the lower tier together. So for Niall or anyone to come with that experience to understand what the lower tier functioning is like really makes a difference. And you're right, it's a steep curve because you've gone from your own municipality to 109,000 in population across the county and 9 municipalities. So yeah, there's a different shift for sure. That's right.
All right. Well, at this point, we're going to take a quick break and come back because, there's lots more to talk about. I'm David Shearman, friends. This is Politically Speaking, and we'll be right back.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details. This is Rogers TV.
For me, the end was just the beginning. I felt I must come. If I did not come at once, it would be too late. And these places that are watered with the best blood of Canada might only be names and memories. I see it in the soldiers, the grief I know so intimately. And I will not abandon these men to it. The isolation wears on me. Slowly, the silence takes over, as if my heart has given out of air. I cannot talk. I can only paint.
For more than 2 years, Mary Ryder Hamilton painted the battlefields of the First World War, creating an unforgettable visual record of service and sacrifices at immense personal cost.
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to RogersTV.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at RogersTV.com.
Hi, and welcome back to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. Now, before we go on, not to put the warden in second spot here, but I do have to mention the fact that Kevin McNab received the King Charles III Coronation Medal this year for his service and his work as a paramedic and his leadership. So, Kevin, congratulations. Well deserved and well done.
Oh, you're on mute there, Kevin.
You're muted, Kevin.
I'll just add while Kevin's coming on, I'll just add that, in particular, that leadership, the highlight was, and the reason why Francesca Dobbin and the United Way of Bruce Gray put this forward as a nomination was because of his outstanding work in the leadership of the opioid crisis, as well as homelessness individuals and how we can be able to address those needs, which we've heard about in more detail on the program. So I'm sure Kevin's going to tell us all about how it's the whole team, but it takes a leader such as Kevin. So
that's right, Kevin.
Yeah, was definitely surprised and humbled by it. And I say this, I think of myself as a connector. I work with so many great people and so many great organizations that give every day. And it's a testament of all the great work that happens on the street. It really is the front line of people working together in the community to make a better day for people.
Which leads me into another interesting thing that I discovered in my background work for this show, that our opioid deaths and opioid overdoses have declined significantly since January of 2025. The numbers, we were at, I'm just looking here, we had 215 overdoses and 23 deaths in 2024. And now in the first quarter, it's just 46 overdoses and 8 deaths. And I don't want to diminish the fact that there were just 8 deaths. Every death is a tragedy, but the point is the numbers have declined incredibly. Kevin, is there any attribution for what has changed or what has changed in this?
Well, I think drug addiction and opioid poisoning and the dangers of fentanyl, it's just so unpredictable. When we went through the first month of January with low numbers, and there was some conversation about the reduction, and I'm always hesitant about this because you just never know. But we're coming up now to almost 4 months. Like you're reporting on 3 months worth of data, and 4 months now, it's still remaining quite significantly lower, like 67% in the first quarter reduction in poisonings, 80% reduction in death. And again, May is no different, and it's continuing to hold. It's hard to tell because it is such a complex disease, but there is a lot of great work happening in the community. There's a lot of agencies that are working tirelessly to support the community with addictions and mental health support and social support. So I would say that the work that we're doing is making a difference. To say where or what, I see it every day, like the anecdotal and where people are being helped. And there's also a really new good treatment that we're doing. It's a treatment of a drug called Sublocade, and the drug is buprenorphine, and that's an injection that we only have to give every 4 weeks. And that drug will actually get rid of cravings, withdrawal symptoms, but it also is overdose protectant, so that if somebody were to use fentanyl while they're on it, it does protect them from overdose. So we've seen a shift in our the amount of first off availability across the counties. Bright Shore is opening up RAM clinics across Grey Bruce, but also our SOS team connecting with individuals that are normally not attached to the healthcare system. We can have 20 to 30 people on that life-saving treatment at any given time.
And hasn't there been an increase in drug testing as well? You mentioned fentanyl, that you've had access to equipment that allows you to test samples very quickly.
Yeah, we're fortunate to have a couple ways of testing. We can test for fentanyl, xylazine with strips. So there's actually strips that can be given to people that they can test. But we were also fortunate to be a part of the SUAP federal grant to have a drug checking machine. We were able to get what they call a Class 56 exemption to handle illicit substances. So our SOS team, they can test drugs on the street and give the results. So we can see, like if it's fentanyl, if it's methamphetamine. There's a very powerful tranquilizer out there right now called xylazine. And we were able to pick that up on a community member that had overdosed and didn't respond to naloxone. When we tested it, we were able to see that there was xylazine in there, and we were able to get an alert out to people, letting them know that is in the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because sometimes that happens. You can't save one person, but you can perhaps warn others.
Yeah, we have a fairly advanced warning system here. Like we're forever looking at calls, and when they're happening, we report them into public health, and they will put out a community alerts based upon increases in call volume. Typically, if a call volume goes up, it's usually more or less something has changed, probably in the drug supply, and maybe a more potent supply out there. So we let people know, of the dangers of that.
Yeah. Well, it's an ongoing issue, Kevin. I have a suspicion you're not going to be. This will not be the last time you'll be on this show and other shows, because it's important work.
Yeah, I really hope the day comes that we don't have to talk about opioid and actually we call it opioid poisoning, but I think the best way to refer to it is unregulated supply poisoning. That people are being exposed to an unregulated supply, and it's harming people.
Yeah. And it's killing people.
It's killing people.
Yeah. Well, let's switch over to the warden for a few minutes here, because you can't throw it back on Kevin, Andrea. I'm sorry. He's got enough.
I wanted to make sure we had highlighted that special event. So
he's got enough glory. I mean, you're the politician. We got to put you on the hot seat a little bit here. Don't go away, Kevin. But I'll tell you right now, the mayor, the warden's got to take her share. Which I wanted to begin with something that caught my eye is in the tendering for roads, and we are now just entering the season of construction, which we all love and hate at the same time. The county was able to save $2 million.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's a big picture piece of the puzzle, but yeah, there have been some opportunities for savings by rearranging some of the projects that we do. And in particular, I'm thinking of the County Road 9 projects where we realized, and one of the benefits is that we're finding that some of the price for paving, et cetera, some of the materials that we need have dropped. So by looking at that, realizing that we had a surplus, it made us alert to being a little bit more nimble in terms of where our projects are, what we're going to do when. And so it came to our attention that if we bumped up a project, did two tandem works that are right side by side each other with this, taking advantage of this good rate, in that particular case, we were able to save 42%, which worked out to, over 300,000, 322,000, I think. So that's a good example. It is always we can do our best to do our long-term planning because roads will always need resurfacing. I've learned from our expertise on our staff that, sometimes you look at a road that's being redone and you think, why are you redoing this? This one still looks good, but that's the whole point. If you keep maintaining them when they're still good, then the maintaining is much less than letting them deteriorate down to a point where now it's a huge reconstruction. So that's, something I'm sure people think about as they're driving down their favorite roads and going, I didn't think this one needed resurfacing, but there's a point to doing that. And it is actually a cost savings for us.
Well, that's what we call you're reducing the infrastructure deficit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We talk a lot about it, but that's what it means.
Yeah, and certainly it's all part of that asset management planning, and we're learning that even our natural assets need management planning as well, but this construction, the things that we actually have to build, we have to think about how to maintain them in order to make sure that we don't pay a huge price tag at the end for having neglected something for too long. So that's the point there.
Sure. Now, you've been traveling.
Yes, I've been on the roads.
Yeah, in our previous interviews, when you've got your mayor's hat on,
yes.
And not the warden's hat, you have been, there have been events that small urban municipalities, small rural municipalities. That was I believe, was that in your municipality in town of Blue Mountains, or was that?
No, it was in Collingwood. It was nearby, so it was nice because in that particular case, you didn't have to pack away, and we didn't have to cost out hotels. So both a number of lots of representatives from right across county, not just the town of the Blue Mountains. But yeah, my recent travels are the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative, and I actually hold two hats there because the town of the Blue Mountains, as well as Meaford, one of our newest members to the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative, and Owen Sound, are three individual members. So each of the mayors are part of the 325 heads of councils, First Nations leaders included, from around the Great Lakes Basin. So the U.S. side, the Canadian side, and including our expanding membership of our First Nations chiefs coming to join the cities initiative with us. But at the same time, Grey County is also a member. So it's excellent because it means that any of our 9 municipalities have access to what it is that we do at the cities initiative and being able to contribute the voice. It's really a significant point about it because, like I just had, for example, I'll give you 2 examples on why it's so important, not just for the shoreline communities, but for all of our communities. One is that when about a year or so ago, I hosted a regional day where I invited all of the members from Ontario up to our town hall in the town of Blue Mountains. And I invited all of the mayors and to come from Grey County as well to come and find out more about it. And it was Mayor Mackey of Chatsworth who said, I think actually we probably have more shoreline than you do because we have so many significant rivers running through. And that's a really important part. What the headwaters of Mill Creek that becomes the Beaver River right beside my house up on top of the escarpment will head into the Beaver River, will go into Georgian Bay, make its way through the Great Lakes, and it'll be the same water that's going past Montreal. So that's the whole significance of the environmental sustainability and why so many inland members need to be part of it too. And I just had that same conversation with Chief Hill from the Grand Rivers. She came to visit with me. We had a great first meeting together, and we talked about the significance of the inland Grand River, for example, which the headwaters begin right up here in the south of Grey County.
That's true. And Kevin Eccles in landlocked West Grey has got, the Saugeen River runs right through West Grey. So
absolutely.
Where does it end up? Lake Huron.
That's right. So it is something that pulls us all together. And we know the value of our conservation authorities because they operate on a watershed basis. Because if you do something, you can be as environmentally sound as you can. But if you've got a few municipalities further up on the headwaters who aren't doing the same thing as you, that has a greater impact. The city's initiative was started by over 20 years now, originally by the mayor of Toronto, Mayor David Miller, along with the mayor of Chicago, because we recognized, as we say, the fish have no passports. So what happens on one side of the border affects the other. But there have been other growing priorities that have come up, and the reason we needed to meet for our annual general meeting, and it was scheduled long before things happened differently on the American administrative level with a new president in the House. We had been planning that this year's event was going to be in Milwaukee because we take turns between the American side and then the Ontario and then the Quebec side. So it rotates the meetings. But more than ever, we needed to have a good conversation together with our counterparts on the other side to talk about how vital the blue economy is, how vital our economic development is hinged on good relationships right across the Great Lakes, and how many of our industries in the Ontario side as well as over on the American side are suffering, and that we need to continue to say that voice in unison to the White House and say that these tariff wars do not work for anyone. They don't help anyone on any side of these borders, and
including the fish.
Yes, absolutely. That's right. Yeah.
And so fish don't care about a border.
No, they don't. And that's why, and that's, there's a lot of overlap too. It's not just silos of, what are our environmental priorities? What are our economic priorities? I'll always bring up the example that the industry that we have up here, Georgian Bluffs, Owen Sound, Meaford, Blue Mountains, hinged on people coming to this area because they want the beautiful waters of Georgian Bay. And so our tourism industry is as important as the shipping industry that's happening down in St. Catharines. So it's good for all of the voices to be there, not just the big cities, not just the big ports, but communities such as our own in Grey County, saying it's important that we work together on this and be able to continue to look for solutions and be able to knock on the doors in Ottawa and knock on the doors in Washington and say, this is 325 communities from around the Great Lakes. I mean, it's phenomenal when you think of the impact that the Great Lakes has. I think it's 84, just checking my percentage number there, 84% of North America's surface freshwater is within our Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Bays of North America.
Yep. It's fully believable. And I mean, services like the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers who monitor the Great Lakes water levels and who keep us informed of that thing are just as important as our Canadian scientific services.
That's right. And then when we look at the human ecosystems that are involved as well, the other big topic for everyone is infrastructure. And so one of the commissions that we've generated, that I was appointed to be one of the two Canada co-chairs on last year, we've had our first year together, and we're expanding our priority. We're actually renaming it from water equity to water access. So it's the Commission on Water Access. And that means on the state side, they still have underserved communities that are using lead pipes for drinking water. So they've got big issues there. But here we have big issues too, because we are stretched for our municipal level dollars to provide good, safe drinking water and good wastewater practices to make sure that we don't have any kind of issues later on, environmental issues later on. And that's again 325 communities saying, yeah, we're all challenged with the same thing. And it's also why it's so vital that we continue to add the chiefs onto our initiative and continue to provide that. There's actually a new committee that's been struck about First Nations and tribal issues, but also of them. So, the participants on that committee are the chiefs who are participating and letting us know what we can do then as the Water Access Commission to support the call that they give and that they would like support for. So that's an important relationship. So,
and to be honest, they were here long before those of us who are part of the who are settlers, but they have knowledge and experience that we probably should be listening to.
Yeah, and that their communities need safe drinking water too.
Yes.
We shouldn't have communities around South Georgian Bay where in one you can turn on a tap and drink water, and an hour and a half later you're under boil water advisory. That's what we're focused on working as together. So we're now being very careful to identify that we're no longer a binational organization. We're a multinational organization to respect the tribal nations from the States as well as the First Nations here on the Canadian side. So I'm excited. I'm excited because I am now on the board. That happened at this AGM. So I've now been added to the board of directors for the initiative. And I'm sitting there with Chief DeBosque from Manitoulin Island. Like that, what an honor to be working beside individuals who are representing communities from all over the Great Lakes Basin.
Now you've got an upcoming meeting as well, Southwest Wardens Caucus.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yep. And on the same note, it's 117 municipalities are represented in the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus. So we have 15 counties, but if you add up all the lower tier municipalities within there, we're at 117 out of the 444 across the province. So it's a significant number. So once a year, we host a Queen's Park reception for the ministers and the MPPs who will come and listen to our strategic priorities that will be launching the updated version, the next 2025 onward. We've just closed off the ones that took us to the end of 2024. And it's a chance for us to be able to meet with them and be able to say, again, if you listen to this one body, this one Western Ontario Wardens Caucus, you're hearing from a multitude of communities, and we've got similar issues. So if we can solve one of those issues, but it has a good impact across 117 municipalities, then our work is fulfilling.
And before we leave it, I should point out that the SWIFT initiative, which is a Western Ontario Wardens Caucus initiative, is just starting 2.0.
Yes.
And that's going to affect people in Grey Bruce.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It'll be including both of our First Nations communities. So
yes.
It's interesting to see that level of internet attention. So it's the work of the Wardens Caucus is varied, but it's important, hugely important.
That's right. That's right. And actually, Deputy Warden Milne, who you become the Deputy Warden once you've become the past Warden, he's going to continue to lead for us on that. I asked him to continue that because he was very involved in it in the first 2 years of the term, and we are well represented when Brian Milne is anywhere. Absolutely.
I mean, he's always a good interview on this show, and I mean, you're no slouch, Andrea, but he and I really enjoyed the conversation, including the stuff that never got to air. But anyway, Brian knows all about that. Anyway, so what other traveling do you have you'll be going to August?
August, but more closely coming up is the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. So FCM is actually happening this year in Ontario, which makes it a little more accessible for a number. So we'll have some good representation. I know we have some good representation coming from the Blue Mountains, as well as the other 8 municipalities in Grey County, to go over to Ottawa and to meet with colleagues from across the country. And again, it's looking for those similarities and looking for the best practices out there. Why reinvent the wheel if somebody else has come up with a good solution to something that you're challenged with as well?
I was thinking of AMO.
Yes, that's right. AMO will happen in August. So it's going to continue to be a bit of a busy day. And then before you know it, in October, there'll be the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus conference. So it won't stop.
Well, it doesn't. And I don't think people realize how much there's the regular meetings of county council and your municipal council, but there are these other larger umbrella organizations which have so much influence in our political system. So it's now. Is the county going to be doing deputations to at AMO? Do you know?
Yes, actually, at an upcoming council meeting, committee of the whole meeting, we'll be discussing the topics that we'd like to submit. So that will be coming. Same thing with each of the member municipalities. They'll put in their preferences about which ministries they'd like to speak with, and then we'll see what it is that we're able to do. What I can tell you is the most impressive receptions we've had is when we come as not just one single municipality, but perhaps a partnership. So if it's the South Georgian Bay Mayors and CAOs Forum puts together a delegation and goes together, or Grey County, or as the Wardens Caucus. So again, the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus will be there making delegations too. They listen carefully, because if they can do something for the good of a series of communities, then that's an even greater win for all of us. So the province likes that when they see that there's good coordination, good collaboration among the municipalities when it comes to topics.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's you never know whether your approaches will be accepted or not, because it depends on what the provincial government, I won't say wants to hear, but who they want to hear from.
That's right. I mean, you're hoping that 15-minute little window that you have, with the knock on the door coming very quickly, you're hoping that there's enough time for them to ask questions, to put, I always say, get that dog ear on the top of your page, have them say, this one needs a revisit. And that's what we hope. It's also the reason why I'm really a very firm believer of bringing our senior staff in, our CAOs, into those delegations, making sure that they're part of the presentation, that they're actively a member of that delegation, because it'll be a staff to staff follow-up. It'll be the minister saying, I want my staff to find out more about this and come up with something. So it's really important they know who is the CAO that's going to be involved and who's going to be their go-to person. Well,
on that positive note, I want to thank the both of you for being a part of Politically Speaking. Always a pleasure to have both of you on Politically Speaking. Kevin, congratulations again on your coronation medal and the work that you do. It's absolutely great work. And Andrea, thank you for keeping us in the loop on what's going to happen in the next few months. It's tremendously exciting, and I have to say, when we come back in the fall, you will be giving us the rest of the story. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. It's great talking to you as always.
And thank you, friends, for being a part of Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. We'll talk again.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
With Rogers TV, you can cheer on the home team from the comfort of your living room. We'll head to the rink, the field, the court, or the pitch, so you don't have to. Tune in and cheer on your local amateur athletes on Rogers TV.
In baseball, there's nothing more important than making it home.
George Springer has tied the game.
Doesn't matter how you get there.
It's gone!
But I do it with style.
Boy, has he got some kind of power.
And a little swagger, too.
Because no matter where you happen to be,